guys, it's True here. Welcome to my 100 subscriber special. Thank you very much for everybody who has subscribed. It is quite surprising, to be honest with you, because when I started my YouTube journey 8 months ago, I didn't think anybody would want to watch. But to hit 100 subs, I'm astounded, to be honest with you. So thank you very much, each and every one of you. It is very much appreciated. As when I first started up my YouTube channel, it was more for personal reasons, really, and still is to help me deal with my health issues that I have. It was something for me to do, it was something to keep me occupied and to try and keep me focused on something else other than my health issues, which I'm going to talk about. I mean, the thing is, one thing that I can say to everybody is do never ever take your health for granted. Things can change in the blink of an eye for the most insignificant reasons and have long-lasting effects. I mean, just an example for myself, my problem started about 5 years ago now. I was just putting, sounds really stupid this, but I was actually putting a crisp packet in a push bin in the kitchen, and I bent down to place the, push lid of the bin, and I felt something twang in my back, and I just couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. I couldn't stand. I couldn't move, straighten back up. I couldn't move forward, and the pain was just unreal. I've never been, well, I have been in that pain again because it's happened since then, but the pain was just completely unbearable. It was just insanely unbearable, and I was stuck in that position for a good half an hour and couldn't actually move. Gone to the doctors, I've had years worth of physio on it, and I've got a degenerative disc problem in my lower back, simply due to wear and tear. Nothing's caused it to happen, it's just a wear and tear on my back. Seems to be since I've been unfortunate enough to get a week back. Because the job I used to do wasn't a manual job, it was an office-based job. I was actually a fraud investigator for an insurance company, and this is a good thing, really, because I was highly successful in my career. I'd worked my way up through various channels and offices, and got myself into a position where I was in an extremely well-paid job. Everything was going right, and then this just happens and completely just ruins your world, basically, and not a lot you can awfully do about it. It's just like I say, you just cannot take things for granted. You have to appreciate your health and look after yourself when you've got it, and fingers crossed for you all, and you don't have anything like this happen to you. But since then, I've had a number of problems with my back. I continued to work for about 4 years through the pain and struggling, but it just got gradually worse and worse, and the incidents with my back became more and more frequent, until it got to the point where I was more off sick because of my back than at work. So obviously it got to a point where my work couldn't obviously put up with that anymore, which is fair enough, and unfortunately I had to lose my job because of it. The other problems that I've developed since having my back, the way the disc is pressing on my spine, it's causing other problems in my body as well. I won't go into detail, but that's to say bowel related issues, due to it pushing somewhere it's not, it's pushing on something else basically, and that's pushing onto the bowel and causing issues in that regards as well. So I've got that joy to contend with as well now, which is brilliant, which obviously makes things an awful lot more awkward, because you can't exactly go rushing around when I've got this back issue. I've got to be very mindful in how I move around, and well, just move around basically. Every step that I take, I've got to be careful what I do. I've got to be mindful of my back. I've got to hold my spine in certain positions. Every movement I make, it's an absolute bloody nightmare, to be honest with you. And it's something that you've got to adapt to and you've got to get on with. but obviously it does cause problems because 99% of the time, well 90% of the time, I can't even actually stand up straight. Stood at probably like a if you imagine that's me stood like that and my back's usually like that, I'm usually stooped over majority of the time when I'm having to walk, and obviously that causes problems actually walking anywhere significant. I mean, for example, I went to a dentist appointment the other day and it's literally a 5-minute walk from my house, and it took me 45 minutes to get there. I had to stop that much and I was in that much agony. It's just horrendous, and this is with obviously pain medication as well. So the reason I started my YouTube channel was to give me something to do with my days, basically, because there's not an awful lot you can do really when I'm in this condition. I'm doing my physiotherapy, I do that, do my exercises, do my general exercise, and then you've pretty much got the rest of the day nothing to actually do. And when you used to be working all the time and busy, and I mean, the job I used to do was high detailed. You had to like court appearances and stuff, giving evidence and preparing high detail files, doing interviews with customers and interviews with other employers as well, because we looked into other employers' dodgy dealings as well. It was quite an involved job, and basically kept me very, very busy. And for someone who doesn't like to do nothing, I always have to be kept occupied, and so YouTube was an outlet for me to actually do something, and do something that I enjoy as well. And that's why I have able to do the output of the videos that I do have. I mean, nothing more I would want to go back to work, because I love my job. I know it sounds stupid, but it was a really exciting, interesting job, and many stories I could tell on it if I could tell them, obviously, but I can't, because if anybody recognised their situation and everything, I could get in a bit of trouble because of it, especially when some of them went into court cases and some people were actually prosecuted due to my investigations. But just to give you an example of my joyful daily routine, I've just been to the sweet shop, also known as the chemist. I'm on lovely painkillers, tramadol, very strong painkiller. Back still hurts like fuck even with those, so it's 2 of them a day. Then I get 4 boxes of these. These are the Pyramide, also known more probably off the shelf as Imodium. I take 8 of those a day, every day. Lovely jumbly. Then, because my back causes me so much discomfort, it's very difficult for me to get to sleep at nights. So I have 4 boxes of these lovely things, which is called amitriptyline. They help you sleep at night. Let's 4 of those before going to bed. Then I have 8 paracetamol a day. Simply does bugger all for the pain, but it helps the absorption of the other painkiller. So 8 of those a day. Then to top all that off, I suffer from severe dust allergies, so I take cetirizine every day. This is a normal allergy thing, because obviously if I suffer from dust allergies and I sneeze a lot, when I've got my back condition, it hurts like mad, because obviously you've got no control when you violently sneeze and the spine just goes all over the bloody shop. So 1 of those a day. So pretty much if I could jump up and down, which I can't because of my spine, I would rattle the amount of shit that I take. But then just to top all that off, because I do take all that, the amalgamated side effects of all those is that I don't actually produce any saliva in my mouth anymore, or very little. That's why when you hear me talking sometimes on my videos, I might I don't know how to describe it, you've probably noticed it, but I kind of get my basically tongue gets stuck basically to my mouth. So I have to take this lovely stuff. It's oral balance gel. It's basically a saliva substitute, and yeah, it actually tastes quite nice. So which is a bonus really, because I have to use it regularly just to keep my mouth lubricated so I can continue to speak. Because otherwise, it's basically imagine the worst case of dry mouth ever, then times it by 100, because there's literally no saliva in my mouth unless I use this. So that's the horrible part of the video over with, and the YouTube channel has really helped me get through this and adjust to the new way of life I'm having to live at the moment. Unfortunately, there's no solution to my back problem. It's one of those cases where if it's operated on, it's too risky to operate on. It's in one of those positions where they could operate on it, but there'd be a high chance of something going wrong, so it's not worth it, because obviously if something goes wrong, it'd be paralysed basically. So obviously that's not something with such a low percentage chance of success, and with avoiding that, it's just not worth the risk. So I'm left with the option to try and adapt and get through it basically, which is not the most ideal situation. So having to adapt to a new way of life when you've you know, been working your way through a successful career, and then it all gets stripped away from you in the blink of an eye, takes quite a lot of getting used to. So yeah, that's why I started the YouTube channel, really, to occupy my days and give me something to do, and hopefully meet a few decent people along the way, which I've certainly fulfilled. I've met loads of brilliant YouTubers, well, not actually met, but you know, obviously started to communicate with loads of brilliant YouTubers, been welcomed into the community as such, and yeah, it's been more than highly successful. There's some days where I feel like making videos, because I'm influenced in how my back behaves on a day-to-day basis. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, and it all influences what I can do, really. But yeah, that's the reason I started the channel, and it was, if anybody wanted, if I got one subscriber, I would have been happy. If I got non-subscribers, I'd have been happy, because it's more for me to focus on something to do to get me away from just basically sitting, you know, basically just cocooned in your own house and just not able to do anything. You know, finding stuff to do, it's so, I mean, people might think it's great, like you don't oh great, I don't have to go to work every day and everything, but you do that for a few weeks, and you honestly start going bored out of your mind, and it's finding stuff to do, it's not possible, really. So you have to find other outlets, really, to stop you going insane. I mean, you can read, you can watch films, you can do this, that and the other, but it's just after so long, it's just not there. It's just not good enough. It doesn't keep you busy, and like say, for a person who is used to working hard and being occupied all the time and always having something to do, going from that to nothing to do and not being able to do much is it's horrible. I can't really put it in words. It's, unless you've experienced it, it's very difficult to put it into words, to be honest with you. So for all the guys who have subscribed, watched, commented on my videos, it's been more than appreciated, and probably the biggest help has been the Tubers High Score Challenge as well. That has really helped me through this year. I learned of that channel, learned of that group through Monkey Spaz. He was the only person I subscribed to at that time who actually participated in the challenge, and I watched a few of his videos and then looked up the Facebook group, and it went from there basically. And probably those guys in the Tubers High Score Challenge have helped me more than anybody, to be honest with you, because it's a great little community we've got. It's a great bit of banter on the videos that we post up there and on the Facebook page. That's probably been the most help of a lot, really, and long may it continue. So thanks mainly to Steve and Matt for setting that up, because that's, like I say, that has really helped me an awful lot in more ways than I can describe, to be honest with you. So rather than keeping this doom and gloom going on, this is supposed to be a happy video for 100 subscribers. So again, thank you very much, and I'm going to go on to some questions now from people in the Tubers High Score Challenge group who've posted questions, and from my subscribers, so I'll hopefully be able to answer these as best that I can. Right guys, on to something a bit more light-hearted now. We've got the doom and glooms and the thank yous out the way. More thank yous actually. Thank you for the questions people have asked me. There's not many, but thank you for those who have asked me the questions. Some of them took a lot more thought than others, but this first one by Metropolis 86, Matt with 1T, not 2 T's, 1T, from the Tubers High Score Challenge group, and he asked, what is my most cherished figure in my collection? As those of you will know, I do collect figures. As you can have a brief look there, look at all those. Apologies for all the crap in front of there, but that's down to the floor is figures in the cabinets as well. We have those over there, and we have those over there as well. Let's get the camera back right. I think that'll do. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there's a regular Thursday video. Well, it's not regular at the moment because it may take a lot of toll out of me, to be honest with you, with my back and getting the light studio set up and everything. I've not been doing them the last few weeks, but as soon as my health gets back a bit better, I will start doing those again. But yes, what is my most cherished figure in my collection? And it's quite an easy one. I mean, unfortunately I won't be able to buy anything like this nowadays because obviously with my health issues, I'm not obviously earning the kind of money I used to be earning. Like I say, I used to be earning really good money with my job, and I was able to buy figures such as this. This I paid £300 for at the time. It's probably worth a lot more than that now. It is a Death of Supergirl statue. It's from the Crisis on Infinite Earth series and is one of the most iconic comic book covers. Basically, let me see if I can get a shot of the... There we go. That's the illustration that this statue is based on. Basically what happened is, for those of you not familiar, the Crisis on Infinite Earth, DC's timeline became very muddled, and they decided to do something about it. So the Crisis on Infinite Earth series was born, and it involved basically a big massive war and heroes died. The Flash has a big role to play in it, but one of the casualties of the war was Supergirl. She actually did die, and this statue is based on the iconic comic book cover, which you can hopefully see on the screen at the moment. It's a really sought after figure. There's not many of them made, and getting them fully boxed and complete is very tricky to do as well. But this is my most cherished figure. It's I'll go closer, probably just for a dusting. It does need a dusting. Very detailed figure. The camera's not behaving, of course, because why would it? Let's see if I can get the autofocus off and do some manual focusing. We'll get rid of the comic book cover as well, because I think you've seen that. It's a very good representation of it. But yeah, it's a very detailed figure. I mean, even if you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but oh, actually, which side of his face is it on? Yeah, it's on his left there. Don't know if you can, if I can focus it in. it's not picking up that well. But if you see there, there's actually a tear on his face. I'm trying to get you to see it there. You can just see it shining in the light there. See it coming from his eye. It's that detailed, this figure. It's just amazing. And there's that poor Supergirl, white as a sheet, because obviously she's croaked it. But yeah, this is my most cherished figure. Not just because it's so expensive, it's just I really love the figure. And there's the back as well. It does have a inlay card that you slot in there, which provides you put in there, which provides a background, but that's still in the box, so they don't want it to fade in the sun. And the reason why this is so sought after is, if you look on the bottom there, again, you can't really see it, it's number 0377 of 2,550, so there's only 2,550 of these in the world. And I just absolutely love this figure. It's just amazing and an iconic time for comic books, and one of the most important comic book stories of all time, basically. So yeah, that's my most cherished figure, Matt. Which I just nearly dropped. Right, second question is from exmosquito. He asked me, what's my favourite genre of games? This is another easy one as well, but I'm going to give two answers to it. And the reason I'm going to give two answers is because my favourite genre of games doesn't really exist that much anymore. Favourite genre of games, old school, was side-scrolling brawlers like Streets of Rage, Final Fight, Double Dragon, such as that. Absolutely love those to death. I really enjoyed them, and if there was one in the arcade, that's where the majority of my money got ploughed into. But obviously nowadays you don't get many of those anymore. Don't really like the 3D ones, the 3D brawlers. I'm not talking one-on-one brawlers either, like Street Fighter 2 and such as that. And I don't like the 3D ones, which have a forced 3D perspective and you can move in and out of the environment. Those don't work. I mean, traditional side-scrolling brawlers, basically. Streets of Rage 2, Final Fight, Double Dragon, Turtles, X-Men, ones like that. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which did in the Tubers High Score Challenge, games like that, they're my favourite old school genre. But in the absence of those nowadays, my favourite is third person cover shooters. Well, third person shooters in general, but particularly third person cover shooters. I absolutely love third person cover shooters. But bizarrely enough, I don't like Gears of War. Gears of War I don't like as a franchise. Just left me cold, that did. But as a rule, third person cover shooters are what I really do enjoy. Right, next question. Right, next question is from Novabug. So Chris asked, and he said, you regularly score high on many games. Do you naturally take to games, put in loads of practice, or are you really a robot? I am really a robot. But honestly, I've always been good at games. It's just something I naturally took to. My first ever memory of playing a game was it would have been when I was 2 or 3. We got an Atari 2600, the old wood veneered version. We had Combat and we had Space Invaders, and ever since then I was just really good at them. I could even beat my dad at them, even at that age, which sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. And since then, I've just adapted them really good. The only genre I struggle with as a whole to be any consistently good at is racers, but pretty much anything else is pretty much fair game. I mean, my cousin, who's also part of the Tubers High Score Challenge Macedonia 150, he'll probably, if he watches this video, he'll probably vouch for that. So many times he used to come to our house with his family, or we used to go to his house. He used to bring us Mega Drive round and stuff like that, or on the Atari 2600 and stuff like that. I was always very good at games, just naturally very good at them, able to complete them or get my head around them pretty quickly. I mean, in terms of the Tubers High Score Challenge, I don't really practice them an awful lot, to be honest with you. At most I'm doing about an hour a day on each of them, but that's sometimes I don't even start them until Thursday, Friday, and the recent ones, because of my back's been playing up alarmingly, I've not even started them until Saturday. I just had a quick hour blast on them, but even then it's just, I just have a knack of understanding how the game mechanics work pretty quickly and getting on with them. What also helps on MAME games as well, obviously you couldn't do this back in the day, you had to play games through from start to finish, but save states help an awful lot, because it helps you to practice particularly tricky sections over and over again. I mean, just for example, on the recent Bionic Commando video, which I one-credited the game, on one of my practice sessions I spent the full hour that I had just playing level 4 over and over and over, and until I was happy with what I could do on it. Obviously, playing a game traditionally, you wouldn't be able to do that as such. You'd have to obviously go through the game each and every time to get to that stage, so save states do help an awful lot in actual practice of certain problematic areas, but I don't generally do that as a rule, but it can help. It can help on certain occasions. So I did that on Sunset Raiders as well, the Red Indian boss, because he's an absolute bitch to beat. I practice him on for a little bit, using the save states, just try and beat him. If you beat him, just restart, try and beat him again. It's just really handy to do that, and it's a good tip for anybody out there in the Tubers High Score Challenge. If you, particularly tricky section, if you've nailed levels 1 and 2 and you're struggling with level 3, just do that. It just helps. It helps really, and if you've got limited to time as well, no point doing the section you can do quite comfortably over and over again and using 20 minutes of your time. If you've only got half an hour, you may as well have the full half an hour on the bit you're struggling at to try and improve on it. So it's not something I do on all games, depends on what they are, but yeah, that's a good tip that I can give to anybody. But yeah, naturally just pick them up quite easily. Next question, Johnny Hart asked 3 questions. First one, what consoles do you currently own? Not actually many at the moment. I did sell loads of my, well, I sold pretty much nearly all my games collection off. I had the PS1 collection, GameCube collection, original Xbox collection, PS2 collection. That's pretty much as far retro as I went. I didn't go back to like Mega Drive and stuff like that, but I sold it all off. Because I started to concentrate on my figure collection more than gaming, and I do play the majority of my stuff through emulation nowadays. But current consoles I still have at the moment, I've got an Xbox One, I have an Ouya, which is good for emulation. I do have a CoinOps original Xbox, and there is a PlayStation 2 I think knocking around in the loft. But in terms of main gaming console at the moment, it is the Xbox One. Oh, I've got 3 Xbox 360s as well. I did have 4, but I sold one of them. Reason I've got 4, in case anybody wondering, I had 4, was I had 2 European ones, so I could double box certain games because I'm an achievement hunter, and some online aspects of certain games is they're dead. It's tumbleweed town. So basically 2 consoles, 2 Xbox Live Gold accounts, and you can play games against yourself basically, just to get the achievements out of the way, because no one's playing them. So you basically got unattainable achievements because the game's not played anymore. So I either do that with myself or some fellow achievement hunters to actually get the achievements knocked out. So I had 2 European Xbox 360s. I had American NTSC Xbox for the American exclusive games, which I've now sold. and I still have a Japanese console for all the Japanese exclusive Xbox titles, Xbox 360 titles that came out, mainly shooters. There's Japanese graphic novels as well, which are what a shit, stuff like that, and there's Japanese versions of mainstream games as well. So I've still got those, and I'm intending to go through my Japanese backlog, because I actually do want to get rid of the console, because there's quite a tiny bit of money tied up in that, because the Japanese consoles cost quite a pretty penny to actually import in, and getting the games as well can be tricky as well. His second question, what YouTube channels are you currently watching? I do subscribe to quite a lot of channels, but the main ones, I mean, obviously I'm watching all the YouTubers High Score Challenge videos, channels quite regular. All the YouTubers High Score Challenges are on my favourite list, and so I've been doing the highlight reel now, and I usually watch any videos you guys upload. But main people I watch Lawn Boy Post 1975 quite a lot. Monkey Spaz, I do enjoy Monkey Spaz's videos. I think he's got a natural knack of making these things. Novabug, I watch quite a lot of Novabugs. I watch his videos. I've just recently watched his hour-long 500 sub video. Well done, mate. I'm getting 500, and I am enjoying. There's quite a. He's got like 150,000 subs. There's a games journalist called Jim Sterling. I enjoy watching his videos as well. I think he's quite a funny guy, and he basically does these squirty play series where he, I mean, on one of my videos I mentioned early access games on Steam. He literally buys majority of early access stuff on Steam and just rips them to pieces, because most of the early access stuff is just a con. There's a few exceptions to that. I actually bought an early access game earlier this week called Darkest Dungeon, and to be honest, that's my game of the year so far. It's an amazing RPG, and you really need to check it out. So many systems working on it. Anyway, I think I'll do probably a separate video for it. It's an amazing game. It's in early access, £15 at the moment, but if you've got a PC capable of running it, which you should have because it's not a highly intensive game, definitely check it out. And I can't wait for him to add the rest of the game basically, but what game's there at the moment is significant. It's great. So yeah, I'd say they're the main channels that I'm watching at the moment. And the final question by Johnny Hart is what's my favourite game of all time? And I don't think that's really a question you can answer as such, because I've got so many favourite games. I mean, there's so many favourite games I've got on the Xbox 360 at the moment that I'll just stick out in the memory. But going back in the day, I'm going to pick a few. I can't possibly pick one, it's impossible. I don't think anybody can really seriously pick one game out of everything that they've possibly played. So I'm going to pick some go-to games which I will go to every so often, because they stand out in the memory for various reasons. First one, Streets of Rage 2. As I mentioned, side-scrolling brawlers is my favourite genre from old school gaming. Streets of Rage 2 I think is the best. It's easily the best console side-scrolling brawler. And finally, actually I won't say finally, I would go to them saying there's a turn-based RPG battle game on the PS1 called Vandal Hearts, which I did have an original copy in my collection. I sold it for £60 when I sold the collection. Pretty sought after game it is. I think I got more than I should have done for that game, to be honest with you. I was quite surprised it only went silly price on eBay, but that's eBay for you. Turn-based like battle RPG strategy game, and also a PS2 game called Eco, which is like the prequel to Shadows of the Colossus. Same kind of graphical style, made by the same guy, where you had to escort a princess out of the castle and stop the shadow creatures. It was basically one giant escort mission, the game was, but it was just done so well. Graphical style and musical style, absolutely amazing. So they're my go-to games off the top of my head, which you could class as my favourite games. Right, next question, guys. Sorry if you, obviously you probably noticed this is a lot of jump cuts on it, because I can't really sit for that long at the moment because of my bloody back. Yeah, by Interghost Adam, who I put all my high scores on his website, or he puts them on actually, I just submit them to him. He asked quite a lot of questions about the YouTube and YouTube community, so I'll go through each one of these in turn. Probably just looking down, I'm having to read it. Who are your top 5 tubers to watch? I think I've covered that earlier on, partly earlier on in Johnny Hart's questions. I'd say top 5 I'm enjoying at the moment: Long by Post 1975, Monkeys Past 5000, Novabug, Jim Sterling, and who else am I really enjoying at the moment? Well, I would say Matt and Steve's collab recap videos, but I'm going to say them because their videos are legendary. They're just like one of the great duos, like Morecambe and Wise, or the 2 Ronnies, the 2 Welsh guys. But their chemistry just works so well with one another. But sadly, we've had the last collab video, regular collab video anyway, for a while due to Matt with 1T moving offices. So I would say those guys, their videos are just worth watching. Okay, change of angle and day for the second part of Interghost's question. He also asks, what do you feel about the community on YouTube? Well, I'm only pretty early into my YouTube life. It's only 8 months since I started the channel, but since then I've got to talk to a lot of amazing people who've been more than friendly, welcome me into the community, and there's quite a few who I share some banter with regularly. So yeah, the community is very important really. It's always a bit daunting when you step into a new community and you don't know what the reaction is going to be really, but all I can say is I've had mostly a positive one. I've only ever had one issue with a video, and that was my Ghosts and Goblins NES video that I did pretty early on. I got this third party warning, copyright strike bollocks thing on it from another YouTuber who clearly had no connection with Nintendo at all. I won't mention any names. I know a few other people have had problems with similar, with the same YouTuber. I think it's due to the way that he's got his channel set up. He's got it set up, got a partnership with YouTube, I believe, and he does like an independent fantasy show. And fair enough, protecting those videos, but it's set up so it flags anything that he does content on. So because he did a NES Ghosts and Goblins video, it also flagged it up based on that, those settings for his show. It was resolved quickly enough. For me, I just messaged him and I said, I don't think you have a right to claim this video, and he totally agreed, and it was all sorted out within a matter of days. So that's the only issue I've really had. I know a few other people have had more problems with that certain person than others, but I can't comment on that because I don't know the actual ins and outs of those. But that's the only issue I've really had. The only other one I've had is Konami being a dick on certain videos. I don't know why Konami flags certain ones and not others. They flagged the Parodius video that got ads put on it. It was part of the high score channel, so I just left it on there. I'm not bothered about ads going on my videos, to be honest with you. I mean, I get them regularly. I get them all the time on my Nightmare videos, but that's fair enough. I'm using the whole television show. I don't own a television show, and they're letting me keep them up if they put ads on them, and some of them put ads on, some of them they don't. Fair dues. And the only other ones I'm getting flagged at the moment are the highlight reel, because I'm using actually proper licensed music. And again, fair play, they're letting me use the music. I'm not in it to make money on this, so fire away. But other than that, the community's been fantastic, really. Been welcomed into it with open arms. And the final part of Adam's question, let me just have a quick look at it. Do you think big and small channels are different? Well, yeah. So I think in terms of size, I think if you get to a certain size, it becomes less likely you're going to interact with your viewing audience. I mean, some of the juggernauts of YouTube, who've got millions of subscribers, they've got absolutely no chance. I mean, their comment sections are just a mass of comments, a lot of trolls, a lot of people genuinely comment on the videos, but there's no way you can spend the time to reply to those in any way, shape or form. So I think if you get to a certain size, you actually lose the interaction between yourself and your viewers. Like the biggest YouTuber I watch is probably well, I watch Angry Video Nerd every now and then. He's obviously got millions, over 1 million subscribers, but the one I watch regularly who's got loads of subscribers is the guy Jim Sterling, who I mentioned a few times previously in the video. He's got about 160,000 at the moment, and he still does actually interact every now and then with certain comments on his channel, so fair play to him. But I mean, even that is getting to a proportion where you can't do it. It's just impossible to do it. Unless you actually take the time to sit down and do it, which will take you hours, or you actually employ somebody to do it for you, you've got no chance. And I think staying small, I never want to get to that. I'm never going to get to that level, obviously, but obviously that only takes one video, doesn't it, for something to blow up out of proportion on YouTube. But I don't think I'd like it, to be honest with you. I like to be able to sit and read what people are putting. So if I get 20 comments on a video, I'll read those 20 comments. If I start getting 100 comments on a video, it's going to be difficult to find the time to read 100 comments on a video. And it's just that how quickly it gets impractical to actually do that. So I prefer the small channels. They're more personal, they're more interactive, they're more of a community channel rather than a large channel. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay, now I've got one last question, and it's a bit of a complicated one. So I'm going to read the question out for you first of all. Let me just find it. It's by Tony from Electricadventures, and he asks a very complicated question, which has took me quite a lot of thought. So once I've read the question out, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to do a bit of editing stuff so you can see the games I'm going to mention. Where's this question? I cannot find it. There he is. So yeah, Tony Cruz asked, how about your top 5 arcade games from when you were younger and your top 5 now? So basically top 5 from back, you know, back when they were originally out, back when you originally played them in the arcades, and have my choices changed now? Well, some of them have changed, but some of them have stayed the same. So I'll go through them one by one, and yeah, this has probably took me the longest to answer. So yeah, I'll go through them one by one and see which ones have actually changed. Right, so here we are, game number 1 then. Apologies for not looking at the camera properly, because I'm going to be making gameplay footage appear up there on the fly, so I could go terribly wrong. But yeah, in order of picks, so this is my favourite arcade game of all time. We have Star Wars, the arcade. Yes, it will, Obi-Wan.
Let's try standing by.
I mean, listen to it. Listen to it. It's 1983. Star Wars is at its peak, and you get sound effects in an arcade game like this. It's just amazing, an amazing arcade game. The sit-down cabinet, it's got to be the sit-down cabinet as well, by the way, that completely encased you in a cockpit kind of thing. Well, not completely encased you, but he was in a cockpit. There's speakers all around you. I think there were speakers even in the rear of the seat, pumping out this excellent music, and the vector graphics were just amazing.
Use your
And the first levels are pretty simple. You start off on a TIE fighter attacking space, like you've just seen, and then you go into the Death Star run tunnel, which is on the screen at the moment. I can't look at the camera and look at the screen footage at the same time, so I'm trying to glance at the screen footage. But you had this with gun turrets on the wall, bullets flying towards you, and in later levels you had barriers which appeared and you had to dodge them left and right. And then when you got to the end, which should be coming up any second now, there we go, whoosh, and there you go, Death Star destroyed. But now it introduces another level. You don't just simply go from TIE fighter space fight to the tunnel run. You actually go along the surface of the Death Star, if I recall. And it does get progressively harder with more TIE fighters, more enemies. But this is it's just amazing. It's just such a good game, and just hearing I mean, it's not perfect speech, but if they could remake this, leave it exactly the same, remake it like this, exactly the same graphics and everything, just change the sound effects to the proper sound the Star Wars theme tune, and the voice samples being perfect.
I'm going in.
You just make this game perfection in my eyes. It's just so good, and especially for 83. I mean, here you go, here's the surface of the Death Star run, where it starts getting a bit naughty. Yeah, awesome game, but has to be the sit-down cabinet. I would love to own a sit-down cabinet of this. I haven't got the space, and I don't have a clue how much one would cost. But yeah, if I had to own one arcade machine, this would be definitely it. So yeah, that's choice number one. To choice number two. Choice number two is, see if you can guess what it is as soon as it starts up. Kinda gives it away. Double Dragon. Amazing Double Dragon. I mean, again, to listen to the theme tune, it's iconic, and the introduction is just amazing. It was the very first side-scrolling brawler I ever played, and I was absolutely useless at it. I could not get off level 1. And if you look at it in retrospect, I'm just going to turn the sound down on the gameplay footage a little bit. In retrospect, looking at this game now and the amount of moves it actually crammed into such a limited control scheme, I'll turn it down a bit more because it's still too noisy. There you go. Such a limited control scheme is amazing. I mean, if you compare it to like the moves on Final Fight has got, it's got nothing on it. That's why I like Streets of Rage 2, I think, so much on the consoles, because it's got an awful lot of moves going for it with such 3 buttons. Now, Double Dragon, I'm not sure what the original control set was meant to be, because I have played button versions of the game, and I've actually played a 2-joystick version of the game on quite a few occasions, which I don't really like. So I'm not sure what the original intention was for the arcade setup, but the amount of moves they've crammed into such a limited move set is amazing. And the only thing I would criticise about Double Dragon nowadays, looking at it in retrospect, is I'd say it's a little bit too slow paced. i.e. there's not a lot of enemies on the screen at once at a time, but that's probably due to the time it came out. But yeah, awesome game, awesome beat 'em up, and it'll take something to shift this from my favourite arcade side-scrolling brawler. I mean, that's what I mean. Just I was going to stop there, but this bit that's just on the screen at the moment, where the what's he called? An oboe? Odo? I don't know what it's called now. Can't remember his name now. When the big guy breaks through the wall, it's just like, what the fuck? Amazing, amazing. And the iconic cat on the dustbin. Classic game. So yeah, Double Dragon. Game number 3. I have done a True Marvellous vs. the World episode of this game. Now let's get it going. Dragon Buster. It's a little known Namco arcade game. Let's whack the sound down a bit there. I just absolutely love this game. It's one of the most unfair games I've ever played in my life, but I just love it. The charm of this game is just amazing. He's got a dodgy walking animation now. I'm not sure what he's doing with his hand there, but this is one. I mentioned when I did the True Mouse vs. the World episode. This is one game. If an arcade actually has it, I know they've got it. For some reason, I can hear this iconic theme tune of this game. The sound effects is above anything else in the arcade. I mean, usually arcades are a mash of noise of all the machines competing against one another, but this, for some reason, resonates with my eardrums, and I can just know they have this arcade somewhere in their, you know, in the hall. It's just such a good game, but it's such an unfair game as well. And again, it's another game I'm not very good at, to be honest with you. But it's one I'll always drop a credit in if I do see it out in the wild, and I'll let it run to the end of the first wave. It gets progressively harder, and here's the dragon. As this game is Dragon Buster, there's a dragon at the end of every secrets levels, which you have to beat. Absolutely awesome game, really love it. Mulling over picking it for my choice of Tuber's High Score Challenge, but I've got a number of other games I want to pick, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, that's choice number 3. Choice number 4, again another iconic game. Gauntlet. This, when I was little, I remember it well. I can't remember the age I was, but I was only small, probably about 9-10 years old, I would imagine. I walked into the, I think it was called the King's Arcade in Morecambe Bay. The arcade I always remember because it had the giant crowns above its door. I mean, massive crowns above its door. And it wasn't a very big arcade, but it was the first one that we always came to when we left our rented holiday apartment or flat, whatever you want to call it. And like I say, it was a very small arcade, and this was the only arcade that year who actually had Gauntlet in their hall. And it was such a small arcade, they'd cleared an awful lot of space for it to make it the centrepiece of their arcade. And as you all know, Gauntlet is a massive arcade cabinet. I think it was the, I mean, correct me if it's wrong, but I think it was the first ever 4-player cabinet ever made, and it just dominated the hall. It just took up a massive area, and the amount of people around it. I mean, the first day we actually went in there, I couldn't even get near the machine. Didn't even know what kind of game it was. And a few days later, I was lucky to get my very first go on it. I played it single player, so I didn't get very far. But it's just awesome. It's just an iconic game, and the gameplay, you can't fault it really. Actually, the only criticism you can lay at it is difficulty curve, because the way they program the game, you get the same amount of enemies and the same level layouts regardless of how many players you have on the screen. And clearly the game is designed for multiple players to play as together, because when you're playing as a lone hero, you do not stand much of a chance at all on the game. It's so unfair, so difficult. So that's the only criticism really, would be adaptive difficulty level, depending on the number of players who are actually participating in the game. But for the time it came out, that would be a huge amount to expect. But if they ever did a remake or altered the game in any way, that is something I would like them to do. But what can you say about Gauntlet? I've never played a game like this before, top-down kind of dungeon crawler as it is. You could pick 4 different heroes, which again was something pretty rare in games of that around that time, actually a choice of playable character. And they was all different enough as well. The sprites were different enough, they all had their own sound effects, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and it was just an awesome game. But sequel Gauntlet 2 was just more of the same, and I don't think we ever got another Gauntlet game on the arcade. I think it was just Gauntlet 1 and 2, but I may be wrong there. But you can't beat this top-down formula. It was imitated loads of times on the home machines, budget titles and such like that. And it's a gameplay method. It's a gameplay system that works. It's a game type that works, and you can't really go wrong with it. You can't really make a bad Gauntlet clone, in my opinion, because the core gameplay is just simply there. And best played together with some mates. But I remember fond memories of playing this on the Mega Drive. Had the Mega Drive multi-tap, and the Mega Drive version of Gauntlet had the original arcade game, even had an RPG mode as well, where you actually had to fight a giant dragon at the end. And I remember playing it with a multi-tap, and that was awesome times. But yeah, that's choice number 4, is it? Yeah, choice number 4. of my favourite arcade games back when I was young. So we'll move on to the final choice. Paperboy. Anyone noticed that it's got the same insert credit sound as Gauntlet? Again, this is another arcade machine I absolutely loved and adored. Looking back at it now, I don't think the gameplay is that much special really, but I think what elevated it, and still does elevate it above the rest, is the control method. If you actually played one of the true arcade cabinets, one that hadn't been altered, you actually had a handlebar controller, and you left and right, obviously left and right, and you tilted forward to speed up and pulled back to slow down, and you had the fire button on the handlebars. Or was the fire buttons the brakes? I can't remember now. It's years since I've actually played an actual arcade cabinet of this. I can't remember, but I think the handlebar controller actually elevated this above more than what it actually is. So if it had simply just swung the joystick and the buttons on it, it wouldn't have had the same impact. It's a simple premise really. You go up the screen, you have to deliver papers to the White Houses, who are your subscribers, and cause damage to the Grey Houses, which are the non-subscribers, to get bonus points. Two methods of delivering a paper. You can either throw it onto the welcome mat, or for bonus points you can throw it into the there's the one on the welcome mat, or you can get bonus points by throwing it into the actual paper box with the sun on it. And loads of things that kill you. There's cars on the road, there's weird residents, stuff like that. So as an example, getting bonus points for shooting the non-subscribers' windows. Now if you manage to get all the oh yeah, of course, yeah, so we're on this bit. Get to the end of the level and you get the bonus BMX track where you can throw papers at the targets, get points for jumping up the ramps and finishing the course. Don't think you actually lose a life if you die on the BMX track. That's the end of level 1. What was I saying? Yeah, if you manage to get all your subscribers delivering a paper to them without causing any damage to their property, you'll get a bonus subscriber on the next day. But if you damage any of their property, even if you do deliver a paper to them, they'll unsubscribe to you. And you can die obviously by hitting enemies, and you can sort of die by running out of subscribers by the end of the week. So yeah, it's quite an interesting game, and like I say, it's one that probably got elevated above what it actually is because of its control method. But they just nailed it with the control method and made it one of the iconic games of the early 80s or early mid 80s for me. Absolutely loved it. Now moving on to my favourite arcade games of today. Well, I've retained 3 from the list. The top 3 I've retained in the 4th and 5th position, so unfortunately Gauntlet and Paperboy have dropped off that list now. If you'd have asked me this question a few weeks ago, I would have given a different answer, but replacing those 2 games, firstly we have R-Type, the original R-Type. Awesome arcade game. First time I ever encountered this game was on the Spectrum version, and that was a conversion far beyond the machine's capabilities. But the arcade machine is just the perfect example of how to do a shoot 'em up, and the introduction of the Force Probe as well was just an amazing addition, and it's been imitated many times, but I'd say very rarely equalled or bettered. But it's just such an awesome concept that you have this probe you can stick on the front of your ship, and which you think is awesome, and then when you learn you can actually attach it to the back of your ship as well, which adds more strategic gameplay to the factor in. It's just awesome. It's just a really clever idea, and it's been imitated on countless games, and I don't think any of them have bettered it. The soundtrack's amazing, the bosses are amazing. If you get to level 3 when the entire level is the boss, I mean that was the first time I've ever seen that in a game as well, and it's just like, what the hell? The whole thing is the boss, the whole level. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. It's another game where I'm reasonable at it. I can get to level 4, but I've never got beyond level 4 on a single credit. And it's one of those games which, again, it's hard to criticise R-Type for this, but it's a problem with the whole genre of shoot-em-ups as it is, or the majority of shoot-em-ups as it is, that when you die, you're pretty much screwed because the restart points are so harsh. When you're powered down, you've pretty much got no chance of actually continuing. Or well, multiple times you'll obviously manage to get through it eventually, but actually if you're in an arcade situation where you was pumping money into the machine, you wouldn't do it because you'd run out of money before you'd progress very far. But yeah, that's the only problem with it really. I would suggest, my personal preference of all shoot-em-ups is when you do die, you get depowered slightly. You don't lose everything just to give you a fighting chance, and you don't actually restart and the level warps backwards. You actually just respawn instantly, excuse me, and carry on. That would be my only criticism. I say it's not a criticism at R-Type, it's a criticism at the whole, at the type of game that this actually falls into. But yeah, awesome game, and if you haven't played it, I couldn't believe Matt hadn't played, Matt from Cherished High Score Challenge hadn't played the original R-Type. Play it, it's iconic, it needs to be played. So my final choice, and mentioning Matt again, if they had done this a few weeks ago, this wouldn't have been here. It is a game we've recently played in the Cherished High Score Challenge, and I absolutely loved it to pieces, to the extent that it is now one of my top 5 arcade games of all time. It is Sunset Riders. I just couldn't believe how good this game was. Graphically, visually stunning, nice cartoon graphics, bright graphics, and the soundtrack amazing. Bosses were amazing, the level structure you couldn't really fault really, each level was different, completely different setting. Just an amazing game, and I kind of clicked to it straight away, and it's definitely the best game I've played in the Cherished High Score Challenge to date, and like I say, it's had that much of an impact. It is up there now as one of my favourite ever arcade games. And I never actually saw this in the wild. I think it came out at a time where we stopped holidaying in Morecambe, which is where I got the most of my arcade experiences at. And let's just knock that sound down a little bit. So yeah, I think I missed that through that regard really. I know there was some home versions on the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, and I've since played the Mega Drive version, which is a travesty of a game. It doesn't reflect the arcade machine whatsoever. And the Super Nintendo version is a very good stab at it. It's pretty much arcade identical, although they have changed certain sprites. No female sprites. For some reason Nintendo have problems with women in video games around that time. And also the Indian level, there's no Indian sprites, they've been replaced by cowboys as well. I think that's probably due to memory limitations on the cart really. They could reuse the same sprites, it obviously saving a lot of memory. But it's pretty much arcade identical in terms of gameplay, not like the Mega Drive version, which is shit. But this is such an amazing game. Really loved it, and really enjoyed playing that for the week that we played it. And I am still trying to one credit this Git as well. I'm not playing as much as I did that week, but I am still working towards trying to do a 1 credit run. Well, it will probably take me a bit of time to do, but so yeah, this drops into my top 5 arcade games which I enjoy now. A really awesome game, and again another one that deserves to be played. So I think that concludes all the questions that I have now actually, so if we can bring this video to an end. Thank you for all those who asked the questions, and once again to everybody who subscribed to me over my brief time on YouTube. I'm going to be continuing to do the videos as per my schedule, health permitting. If for any reason a video doesn't show up on the day, it's simply due to because my health hasn't enabled me to produce a video. The one that's suffering at the moment is unfortunately the figure video, because they take a lot of time to do, and they're the ones that are unfortunately missing out if my back is playing up alarmingly, which it has been doing for about a month now. So if you are one of my subscribers who the main reason that you are subscribed is because of those figure videos, please be assured they are going to come back. And I think that really brings a close to this video really, so thank you all very much for subscribing and continuing to watch, and I will catch you on the next video.